If I can find a cheap tie, I will wear it. I don't care if it lights up and says Hawaii.
I'm Arizona Family political editor Dennis Welch.
Dennis, fake news Welch. Try to tell the truth.
And this is the Politics Unplugged podcast.
Dennis, if you have a problem with substance abuse, I am more than willing to talk to you anytime you need.
And welcome back to another edition of the Politics Unplugged podcast. This week, I am joined by Senator Analise Ortiz. And the reason why we're having her on this week is because, man, it has been another banger of a week at the legislature with some immigration bills, one of which, you really got a lot of attention on because you went on Instagram. You're very good with that resource, talking about, I believe, John Kavanaugh's bill 1635 or 85 or 30. And this is the one that could send you to jail for blowing a whistle, correct?
Yeah, it could send you to jail for blowing a whistle to let people know that ICE is around, or even if you post it next door that there's cops in your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. And what I thought was interesting, because this is a story that really hits close to home for you, because lawmakers actually tried to kick you out of office, try to punish you, censure you, do all sorts of things because you were letting people know in your community about ICE activity and alerting them to what was going on, correct?
That's right. I simply reshared an Instagram post when they were outside of an elementary school, which is alarming, right? People should be safe going to school. And when we saw this happening, keep in mind it was before they had shot and killed United States citizens in the streets in Minnesota. So people were afraid, and now they have even more reason to be afraid and to know how these masked, armed, violent people are acting in their communities. But John Kavanaugh wants me to go to jail for that. So his bill has to do with unlawfully alerting, which is incredibly broad language, and it's just straight up unconstitutional.
I mean, aren't there already, I'm not an attorney. I don't think you're an attorney.
No.
But I'm sure you're a lawmaker. There are laws already that if you interfere with the arrest of somebody, they can ring you up on that, correct?
There are serious laws against obstructing law enforcement, and John Kavanaugh knows that, which is why I feel his real intention with this bill is to chill speech. It's to scare our community safety networks who are working to inform one another about how ICE is acting and what's happening in our neighborhoods.
Well, it's also, too, I was going to ask you, too, how much political theater is involved in this? Because we're in the even-numbered years. Shit gets really wacky. People do some strange things. So you're just trying to make some political hay out of this?
It's absolutely political theater, and John Kavanaugh is notorious for doing what it takes to, make a splashy headline, even knowing that a bill is unconstitutional.
Oh, Kavanaugh is so known for headlines.
Yeah, that's right. And it is an election year, and that's why this year has been such a shit show down at the Capitol. But who really loses out on years like this are the people of Arizona who are not getting solutions to make rent more affordable. We are not seeing any bills moving that will help with reducing the high costs of utilities. All of these types of real struggles people have are being ignored while we are debating these bills that will not hold up in court.
Yeah. Excellent way to pivot back onto Democratic message. All about affordability this year. It's very good. I get all that. Have you went seeking answers? Have you had any conversations with Kavanaugh personally about this? Why is it needed? Ramifications for this? What is the conversations yielded for you down at the Capitol?
Well, we were supposed to have a committee hearing, and it got held for time constraints. So the bill will be heard in committee this upcoming Wednesday. I want to hammer this out at the dais in public. I haven't had a behind-the-scenes conversation with him because it's all political theater. It's all bullshit, and I have other things to worry about when it comes to my constituency right now. They are suffering not just from the fear of immigration. I had a woman tell me yesterday that she's a United States citizen and she's Latina. She's carrying her birth certificate with her. She asked if her husband, who's a naturalized citizen, should carry his paperwork. These are the types of inquiries that I'm getting into my office, and that is where my energy is. And then I have people who just need help with food, with paying their rent, with paying their electricity bill, bills. And so I'm not going to spend more time than I need to when I know that John Kavanaugh's bill is either going to get vetoed or, if passed, struck down by a court.
I was going to say, like, I would think it's going to get vetoed. But I was talking to Kavanaugh. I interviewed him for a story I did on that bill, and he said I'd be shocked if the governor didn't sign this bill. I think there's a lot of politics there, given what we know from the governor. I don't think there's any way she signs this bill.
The governor has always been very solid on understanding when something is unconstitutional and not putting the state of Arizona in a position where we're going to get sued and then have to defend that law in court. And who's going to pay for that? Taxpayers are going to pay for it. So we need responsible leadership, and so I trust she would make the right decision.
So, what are some other immigration pieces that really caught your attention? I know before we started taping, we started talking about, I believe it's a Janae Shamp bill that would require any hospitals that accept money from Access, which is the state's Medicaid system, would have to you'd have to check a box indicating whether you're a legal citizen or not, with the promise that information wouldn't be shared with the federal government.
Yeah, and the promise is a wink and a nod.
Yeah.
It's horrible. So there are dozens of anti-immigrant bills. It is absolutely ramped up this session. And it's just heartbreaking when you think about Arizona's ugly anti-immigrant history and how far we've come since SB 1070, when we had the voters approved to give undocumented students in-state tuition just a couple of years ago. And now we're seeing even some of those Republicans who supported that initiative putting forward these horrible anti-immigrant bills. And it's really shameful. So that bill, SB 1051, does have to do with health care. And what are we talking about here? We're talking about, somebody bleeding out and going to a hospital for help. Maybe they were in a car accident or shot, and the hospital having to say, wait, we need to gather your immigration information first. How is that any kind of compassionate or Christian thing to do? And there's another bill that's also moving by Senator Rogers that would require state agencies to turn over any data they have to the feds on people's immigration status. So taken together, this information absolutely is going to be weaponized against our immigrant community and even against lawful permanent residents like DACA recipients.
Yeah, what needs to be done on immigration? And the reason I ask is it seems like I've been down at the Capitol for an extended amount of time, and I've seen a lot, of proposals put forward by Republicans and Democrats fighting back against a lot of that stuff. Has there been thought about, what Democrats want to see? Is there anything that needs to be done on a state level when it comes to immigration?
Well, we need the federal level. We need Congress to pass a permanent pathway to citizenship. Sure. And I have been incredibly disappointed that even when Democrats have had control of the presidency, the House, and the Senate in Washington, we have failed to deliver on a permanent pathway to citizenship. So you have people who have been in the state of Arizona contributing, paying taxes. This is their home for decades, who are unable to become a citizen no matter how much they want to or how hard they're willing to try, because the pathway is not there. So I will continue to fight for that from Congress. On the state level, we have seen the governor and AG Mays use their authority when it comes to drug interdiction on the border to try to address some of the issues with fentanyl and other things of that nature. But to me, the underlying problem really lies with Congress.
Again, it's a great scapegoat, blaming Congress, because they have been inept on this. I mean, if you go all the way back to John McCain, Jeff Flake, Gang of Eight, who's around with that? I think Marco Rubio was part of that. He's still around. Again, can the state do anything that could help alleviate this problem or solve some of these problems? I understand that immigration is mostly a federal issue, but you're starting to see bills like this, from John Kavanaugh on the other side. What kind of agenda, what kind of thing would you like to see?
Yeah, well, I do have a bill called the Immigrant Trust Act that would prohibit local law enforcement from asking people about their immigration status if it's not directly related to a crime. It would also prohibit hospitals, healthcare providers, and social service providers from unnecessarily asking about immigration status. I think those types of measures are really important right now. I also think that elected officials have a duty to be consistently sharing know your rights information with our community. And AG Mays, I think, has done a phenomenal job by opening up this portal on her website where you can report if you see ICE harming people, beating people in the street, or knocking down doors without a warrant. Those types of safeguard measures are important. So it's a dual pronged issue, right? You have the issue of people need citizenship status. We should be able to have people working here lawfully if they want to, and we need to make sure that the ICE abuses are not going on.
Can I get your take on on what Mays said? She got into some hot water. The Republicans made some political hay out of this, where she was talking about the gun culture, stand your ground rules, and saying that she wouldn't want to see anybody from law enforcement harmed because of Arizona's strong gun culture and stand your ground rules. She took a lot of heat for that. And then the governor comes out and says that she should retract the statement. Can I get your take on this? I mean, what's going on here between those two?
Attorney General Mays was simply stating the law that Republicans passed. She was in absolutely no way condoning violence. She never has. So I think that whole story was an absolute political theater attack on the only elected official statewide who has been consistently speaking out in support of our community, consistently making it clear that abuse from ICE is not going to be tolerated in the state of Arizona. So I thought that was shameful that we saw the way Republicans attacked her. The governor's going to say what she's going to say. I don't necessarily agree.
Was it shameful what she said?
I don't agree with the way that she handled it. I agree with Democrats sticking together and protecting the people's AG Mays, who has done such a great job at not only defending our civil rights, but also working to go after corporate landlords, go after the utilities. That's the type of leadership that in my conversations with the community, people are really wanting in this very scary moment for our democracy right now.
How do you think all this stuff plays out? Like, because we are in an election year, you're running for election, everybody. How do you think this plays out? Do you think this gives Democrats a chance to take control of the legislature, one or not both of the chambers? That's been the big question, past 10 years or so, is whether Democrats can finally take one of the chambers. Do you think this is the year they finally do that?
I think we have a really good chance at taking one or both of the chambers. We are going to work to take both of them. But I think Governor Hobbs is going to sail to victory with the unexpected Happy Statehood Day news from Karrin Taylor Robson that she's dropping out of the race.
I will say it wasn't unexpected. If you listen to this podcast, about a year ago, kind of predicted this. I'm sorry.
Well, there you go. Yeah, but it's still welcome news regardless. So I'm very confident about that. When it comes to the legislature, we have to make it clear to people in these swing districts about the fact that Republicans are failing Arizonans. We continue to have high costs of home ownership, high costs of rent. Utility bills are through the roof. There is a full Republican Arizona Corporation Commission that has helped contribute to that. So we have to connect the dots for people. And we've seen what happened in other places around the country where they have had special elections. People are absolutely rebuking this administration and especially the overreach of ICE. I never thought when I listened to KTAR, more conservative radio, that I would hear some of their commentators saying ICE has gone too far. And I think that is where many of these more moderate, middle of the road type voters are. And Republicans are not responding to that with all of their anti-immigrant bills, with the way they're welcoming Kristi Noem with open arms here in Arizona just today. So they're not where the vast majority of Arizonans are when it comes to ICE and having a rogue, violent, armed paramilitary force killing United States citizens in the streets.
Did you see the story in the Wall Street Journal about Kristi Noem?
No.
And the blanket?
I'm scared.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Colin, but some pilot got fired because they left her blanket behind. Is that
my
right?
gosh.
Is that right, Colin?
Was there an affair involved?
I believe that is correct, but also once they fired him, they realized they had no one to fly the plane back, so they reinstated him to his job because they needed to get the plane back.
It's a mess. It's an absolute mess.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing, and none of these people are qualified to hold the roles that they do.
Yeah, it's just incredible. I'm not taking a side here. Just look at the facts. I mean, some of this stuff is just strange. The same report from Wall Street Journal, the very liberal publication known as the Wall Street Journal, is also reporting that Corey Lewandowski, her unofficial chief of staff or something like that, got really upset because people wouldn't give him a gun and a badge.
Oh my gosh.
And when they wouldn't give him correct me again, Colin, right? If they wouldn't give him a gun or a badge, then these people got reassigned or fired.
One of them got sent to FEMA. Yeah.
They're just cosplaying at this point. It's ridiculous. And I really miss the days when the news was boring, when we didn't hear from Washington, D.C. unless it was something, very important or something we needed to know. Not all of this, just absolute
and I know you're
atrocities.
probably going to disagree with this statement, but to me it was like a really weird moment when, they announced that they were pulling back on ICE in Minneapolis, right? And Tom Homan makes this announcement. And it was a really weird moment because it felt like, oh, Tom Homan is like the adult in the room. It was a strange moment for me. I'm like, this is the guy who reportedly allegedly took $50,000 in a kava bag in cash. But like he's standing there and like, oh, well, kind of the adult here.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous. This is someone who has sent this rogue violent force and turned it on American citizens in Minneapolis. It's horrifying what they've gone through. And I continue to be wary of the fact that it's going to end here or that they are going to actually pull out. Who knows? They're building these mass detention network across the United States. And if you are someone who believes that people who are not here lawfully should be sent back home, then why build all of these huge warehouses to detain people?
Like the one in Surprise. Have you driven by that yet?
Yes.
That place is ginormous.
It's 7 football fields, I think.
Yeah, 7 football fields.
Who are they actually going to keep there? We don't know. What are the conditions going to be?
Apparently it was like to process and house like 1,500 migrants, right? You go out there and you drive around that, you're like, only 1,500? This place is huge.
Exactly. It should really worry anyone who knows American history, right? The Japanese internment camps were a shameful moment of our history. All of the things that we have done to indigenous people in this country, to Black Americans in this country, we need to look back into our history and realize that we have been in shameful places before, and we cannot go back when it comes to some of the most atrocious, ugly parts of United States history. But I feel that's where we're headed right now.
All right. Let's wrap on this. We always talk a little bit about pop culture. So ask you a personal question. What are you listening to these days? What were you listening to if we went out to your car right now and put on your playlist? What would be the top of your playlist right now?
I have the most diverse taste in music ever. My pump up playlist when I'm driving to the Capitol is Megan Thee Stallion. Bad Bunny, I absolutely love. And after the Super Bowl, I think everybody had him on repeat. I mean, everyone with taste. And then you will appreciate this one. I am also a huge Green Day fan.
Okay.
So I have a Green Day tattoo. And when they performed at the Super Bowl, I was rocking out too.
That was so weird for me seeing that because like
they're old.
They're old, like me, and like just it's Gilman punk kids, like 924 Gilman Street's like this legendary punk club, and like they're playing that, and like the guitar player for Pinhead Gunpowder was playing second guitar for him, and I was just like, this is strange.
I knew you would appreciate it because you know Pinhead Gunpowder. That's awesome. That's why you're my favorite newscaster.
Thank you very much. You hear that, Colin? Did you mark the tape on that one?
I'll remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's a good playlist. So you didn't watch the alternative Super Bowl halftime?
I did not. I don't know if I could get down with that. I would call it, as I saw on social media, Clanchella.
Why do I have to care about the halftime? But I'm not it could be great. I've seen good halftime shows. I've seen bad halftime shows, but most of the time I'm like fixing myself a plate to eat during halftime shows or talking with friends. And like everything now is like so political and everything has to be so political. It's so exhausting.
It's the culture wars and the rage bait, and it is exhausting. And it's, quite frankly, pretty politically stupid of Republicans who were able to earn Latino male votes in the last election to now turn around and bash on the biggest Latino male artist. Be serious.
Oh man. Well, we'll end it right there. Thank you very much for stopping by here and engaging me in some talk on some music there at the end.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome back to the second half of the Politics Unplugged podcast. As always, Colin Stanton, thank you for joining us again and sticking around here, Colin. And God, for just one time, I want someone to leave here and just say, effing Colin.
It doesn't happen.
No.
We get the effing Dennis
Every
time.
God, it's great. That's great. But, I want to start with another jam-packed banger of a week in politics.
Yeah.
Karrin Taylor Robson, big bucks, big money, big bust.
Yeah.
Wasn't it much of a surprise, was it? I mean, I saw some people calling this a bombshell or saying this is a big surprise. I'm like, hey, if you've been paying attention to this race, it was not.
I would say the timing was sort of surprising. There aren't too many people who spend a year in the governor's race and the year ends February 12th before the election. I mean, pulling the plug that early was sort of surprising. Pulling the plug was not surprising. At some point, you have to look at the polls and how much you're spending and realize this is absurd.
What do they say in the business world? What's your ROI, return on investment?
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Man.
It wasn't good.
Man, if you look at the two races, it's got to be, over $20 million spent between the two races, and she has absolutely squat to show for it. She doesn't even have a Republican, like a nominee victory. Like a primary victory. She doesn't have one of those to show for any of this.
No. Did a lot of advertising early on in this campaign. Didn't seem to make any difference at all.
Yeah, and why do you think that is? What do you think her problem was?
I think among her problems is, I could be wrong on this, but she's gone full on hardcore MAGA in this race. We remember who she is. She just ran another race a few years ago. That's not who she is, or not who she's been. And so I understand the math of you're running in a Republican primary, you want to be close to Trump. But when you come, you're the savvy businesswoman who's going to run the state in one campaign, and in the next campaign, he's magic. Trump, Trump, Trump. Everything Trump says is correct. I'm Trump.
Mm-hmm.
People don't buy it.
It's not authentic.
And
it's not authentic at all. And people, we live in a world of authentic. People want authenticity, even if it's fake authenticity, right?
And yes, and certainly being Trump adjacent in the primary is a big deal, but you're not going to beat Andy Biggs doing that.
No,
because he's got the track record of that's exactly who he is. You're not beating it.
No, just and two. I just think that from as the kids say, the political Riz, like she just doesn't have it.
No,
she's not somebody you gravitate. She's not good on a stump. She's not good in front of cameras. She may be a whiz bang brilliant businesswoman, but she doesn't come across as like that product that people want to buy into.
No.
In politics, and you're selling Coke and Pepsi on these big statewide, these big elections. You're selling products that are appealing to people, and you want to appeal with them on an emotional level. Because when you go out, you've talked to plenty of, average voters on the street, like real voters who have real lives that don't include paying attention to the latest, hourly news cycle on the social media networks, like real voters.
Yeah.
And you'll ask them why they voted for someone or didn't vote for him. And they'll be like, well, I just kind of like him. Yeah. Or I didn't like him.
Yeah.
I just didn't like him.
And she's, for someone who spent that much money to get her face and name out there, she's oddly anonymous, and you don't see her. She's invisible in the political landscape, even with that level of expenditure. You'll see Biggs out there. Biggs and Schweikert have the advantage of being in elected positions, and she does not. But you still don't see her, which raises another point. You'll notice she's never appeared on Politics Unplugged in this election cycle. She has not been on this podcast. We have had Andy Biggs on the TV show. Mm-hmm. We've had David Schweikert sitting where I'm sitting right now on the podcast. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure you've ever had a soundbite from Karrin Robson that you've gotten
I haven't
during this campaign that you have gotten. And the reason for that is?
I think about a year ago, when she was, shortly after she had launched her campaign, she had hired a couple of Trump's political gurus.
Yeah.
And the assumption was you hire them so you can keep the Trump endorsement solo, so he doesn't go out and double endorse. Well, what does Trump do shortly after this? He goes right out, double endorses.
Yeah.
And then the two people she hired from Trump world end up leaving her.
Yeah.
And it was in the wake of that I described her as, in context of spending all that money a few years ago and losing, I described her as the empty pantsuit who's not good at politics.
Right.
And she took personal umbrage. I love that word, right? Umbrage. Pretty pissed at me.
There was umbrage involved.
There was much umbrage.
Yeah.
I was told that I personally offended her. Look, Karen, if you're listening or somebody who knows her, listen. I wasn't trying to personally offend you.
No.
You got offended because you made it personal. But that was, the way I, analyzing it at the moment. Again, you're maybe, I don't know you on a personal level. Maybe you're a great person to, and a brilliant businesswoman, all these other things. But from the outside, it didn't look like you were very good at the political part of this. And you she comes from a political family and all that, and you got to win elections. And the only thing that matters really in politics is whether you win or lose.
Yeah. And I think the estimate I saw was $25 million all told for the two races. It'll be in that ballpark.
Yeah.
To earn a loss to Kerry Lake in a primary, and then a campaign that is aborted 9 months before the election. 10 months before the election. That's a lot of money to get absolutely nowhere. And she was in the running against Lake, but lost. She, and that was a very different version. And I think there's just a dumb calculus in being in her position and trying to go full MAGA.
Doesn't make sense. I mean,
the full MAGA vote's going to Andy Biggs. And I realized she got in the race before Biggs did, but she had to know that was coming. Something was coming. Yeah. She was going to have a MAGA opponent. And in the primary, you probably have to be MAGA, but the way things are going, I don't know that being MAGA is necessarily that big an advantage. The one reason I give Schweikert a fighter's chance in the primary, apart from the fact that we always count him out and he always wins, is that
it's like an annual, it's every 2-year cycle.
Yes. But we may legitimately hit the point where even among Republicans, being MAGA isn't the ticket to the to the general election that it's been. I mean, I think Biggs is going to win. I'll be surprised if he doesn't, but I think there's a window there, and I think that's probably where Robson should have aimed, because she wasn't going to win doing this. Plus, you've got the pivot once the primary hits, where being super MAGA has not been a successful way to run for statewide office in Arizona, and I sure as hell don't think it's going to be this time if it didn't work in the past.
And it is just shaping up to be a very difficult year for Republicans up and down the ticket.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody earlier today who actually thinks there is a big chance that Democrats could pick up the state house and the Senate maybe. Now, I don't believe the Democrats have held the speakership in the state house since the mid-1960s. And this would have been a very different Democrat Party.
Yeah.
Because this probably would have been during the Goldwater era in the Democratic Party in southern parts of the country, very different Democratic Party than northern Democrats.
Yeah.
Read into that what you will.
Yes.
But that was the last time. I think that was the last time they had that. No, I think Pete Rios, Democrat senator, was the president of the state senate for a cup of coffee in the fallout from ASCAM. If you're not familiar with ASCAM, get on your little black box in your hand and Google that. I don't really feel the need to go over that again. But following that scandal, there was a clearing of the decks. Democrats came out, won some very surprising races in some very surprising parts of the state. And, Pete Rios, one of my favorite politicians to ever have covered, had a cup of coffee in the Senate president's office.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like every election we're doing the Democrats going to take, and they don't.
And they don't.
But
boy, they can really fuck things up, can't they? The Democrat Party can really just
yeah, you give them a chance and they'll screw things up.
Oh yeah.
But you look at the results around the country, and if you're a Democrat, you have to be encouraged by things. You know, the special election in Texas in a very large, very red county. I think there was a 31-point turnaround from how it went for Trump versus how it went for the Democrat.
And then you start looking we may be on the verge of a historic number of retirements.
Yeah.
I think Chuck Todd in his Toddcast said that, I think the record was in the early 1918, 1970, somewhere around there. There's 55 retirements that year. And the out party just cleaned house and won 40 seats or something like that. Yeah. He suspects we could be upwards of 65 retirements by the time all the filing deadlines are over.
Yeah.
And most of those, again, are Republicans retiring. And you've seen, a significant retirement or two here in Arizona. I mean, J.D. Mesnard's not running for re-election again in Chandler, and that is an area of the valley that has changed dramatically over the past 10, 15 years.
Yeah. I mean, with the people retiring, particularly the Republicans retiring, if you are one of those who went into politics to try to make a difference and to try to accomplish something and try for the betterment of the country, you've got to be just wildly discouraged by what's going on, because regardless of your political stance, Congress doesn't exist right now. I mean, as long as we have it set up the way it is, Mike Johnson is just whatever the president wants, president gets. Mm-hmm. And so if you're there in Congress hoping to accomplish anything, you're not accomplishing anything. You're just there to rubber stamp whatever the president says. And maybe you agree with him and maybe you don't, but that's not, in all likelihood, why you ran for office. If you are one of those older Congress people who are now looking at retirement, the new class of Congress seems to be mostly there to try and go viral and to make a dent on social media and set themselves up for a podcast.
Maybe that's what we should do. Like maybe you or I should get elected to Congress and then continue this podcast.
Can you imagine a worse job?
Congress?
Yeah, no.
Would you
particularly in the House? I just, what a miserable existence.
God, can you imagine being in the minority?
Yeah.
Oof. Oof.
I mean, just between the travel and the fundraising, because if you're in the House, it's just the fundraising is constant. I'm sure the senators will tell you it's pretty constant there too, but the House is insane.
Yeah. So, I loved what you had to say earlier today. You were having a conversation before we started doing all the taping and stuff like that, and you're like, wow, man, Karrin Taylor Robson's dropping out while Gina Swoboda is still trying to make up her mind.
Yeah.
But
that's how early this is.
I know. So it's a nice transition. Let's talk a little bit about Gina Swoboda. Broke a little news on our little TV show today, announcing that she indeed is going to run for Secretary of State. If you don't know, she had been toying with the idea of running for in Congressional District 1, but she says, nope, running for Secretary of State now, and she's going to do it without the Trump endorsement.
Yeah.
In that same interview, she said that her Republican primary opponent, Colin, is basically unqualified and will get poleaxed in the general election and cannot beat Adrian Fontes, whom, in the same interview, Gina Swoboda also said she respects Fontes.
She respects Fontes. She thinks he's too partisan, but respects the job he does, which was far more respect than she showed to Colin.
It was a fascinating interview.
Yeah. And I mean, it's probably a savvy move for her. Yeah. I think running against Jay Feely when Feely has the Trump endorsement in CD1 is probably an uphill battle. And
because you're going to need to raise a ton of money in that district.
Yeah.
That's going to be a brutal general election.
Yes, doing that against a former local NFL player who's got the Trump endorsement, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, in the primary, and again, it's going to be a tough year. Again, back to the conversation earlier, tough year for Republicans in the general election.
Yes. Yeah,
and
yeah, it would be an uphill battle. Secretary of State, I don't know if she'll beat Fuentes, but I think she'll beat Colin. And I mean, if you listen to her speak on our show, she has a message that is not going to scare Democrats. I mean, Democrats hear other candidates talking about election integrity and making it sound like, you know, you stole it from us in 2020 and we're stealing it back if I'm elected. Mm-hmm. And that's not her approach at all with the way she talks about the office. Mm-hmm. She says she will not just do the federal government's bidding, et cetera. It's a toned down message from what you would hear from a lot of candidates.
Yeah. All right, man. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about fun stuff.
Okay. Is this where we switch to Pam Bondi and the Epstein hearing?
Yeah, exactly. Boy, was that crazy.
It was awful. It was.
That was nuts.
It was crazy and it was awful.
Yes. I mean, she was like, "Don't you talk to me that way? How dare you accuse me of lying?" Well, like, I mean, it's just this is the Attorney General of the United States showing absolute contempt and loathing for Congress.
And on top of that, there's a whole section of Epstein victims in that room, mm-hmm. and a congressman is asking her questions about, like, why haven't you talked to him? They asked them to raise their hands if no one from DOJ had spoken with them yet. They all raised their hands. And they're asking, why hasn't anyone faced any kind of charges on any of this? And her response is, the Dow's over $50,000. Why do you even care about this? You should just care about that.
She's like, how come we're not talking about this? Like, because this is a committee hearing on the Epstein files.
Yes.
You know,
and you're the Attorney General. Yeah. Like, why are you plugging the Dow?
Yeah.
I mean,
or are certain laws okay as long as the Dow is doing well? Like, if the Dow is over this point, then you can get away with manslaughter.
Right. No, where is the line for sex trafficking?
Yeah. Yeah.
Apparently it's well below 50,000.
Yeah.
50,000 sex trafficking's cool. If it drops below, then it's a problem.
Yeah.
Tough argument to make.
It is a really tough argument to make in Congress.
Yeah.
But it was just like, it was, you know, when you work in a newsroom like this the stuff is always kind of in the background, and you've got it playing on, and every now and then you're working on something else, and you're just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What is going on over here? It was just absolute. I mean, this is Attorney General of the United States, just absolute, just contempt.
Yeah.
For lawmakers
who are asking perfectly reasonable questions.
Yeah, most of them were very reasonable questions.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some funny ones that were like, you know, like, could you read your favorite bird out of your bird book? Like, that was pretty fun. I mean, there was definitely, but a lot of, like, really legit, reasonable questions to show that kind of loathing toward the legislative body of the United States when you're the U.S. Attorney General. I mean, I mean, we've known for a long time when you're in those jobs and you go into those committee hearings, you're playing for an audience of one.
Yeah.
And you know, all of that was directed toward the president. To see her up there saying that. But man, just astounding.
And I mean, people have a general sort of contempt for Congress. So in most cases, I think banging on Congress isn't necessarily the worst look.
Yeah.
Because ask the average American, they probably like the person who represents them, but they think everyone else is awful and corrupt. And so, but when it is Congress people asking you about the Epstein files and about young girls who were molested, trafficked, etc., and your response is to yell about the state of the Dow, it's repellent. It's just, what are we doing here?
On so many levels. Like,
All right.
Let's talk about something really fun, actually. Like,
all right.
Legit fun, away from politics, man. We've been watching a lot of luge.
Yeah.
This week.
Yeah. I'll lose a lot of curling.
A lot of curling.
I'm kind of a curling expert at this point. I've probably watched 30 hours
the best,
of it.
Dude, seriously, it is the best part about Winter Olympics. It's like you watch You watch them once every 4 years, and then like as soon as you kind of get plugged back into it, like 2 minutes later, you're an expert again.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, how dare they? They screwed up that toss in the curl.
Yeah, yeah. Sweden's not going to let them get away with that. Yeah. It's been fun. And now we're getting into hockey, and I love the Olympic hockey. So.
The international hockey stuff can be kind of fun.
Yeah.
You were saying Canada is really...
Well, yeah, when I saw the lineup and the lines that Canada can run, and it's, Connor McDavid, and I'm sure this is lost on much of the audience, but the guys they have out there, their second-line center is Nathan McKinnon, who is one of the absolute best players in the world. He's the centerpiece of a team that is like record good in the NHL this year, and he's the second-line center for Canada. I don't see anyone competing with him. The U.S. looked fairly good in their opener.
You think they're going to get
Latvia.
Smoked? Oh, yeah, against Latvia.
Latvia ain't Canada. I suspect, and you never know. Stuff look at 1980. You never quite know what's going to happen in Olympic hockey. But I'll be pretty surprised if anyone can stay on the ice with Canada this time around.
Oh, man. 1980.
It's provided a nice career for Al Michaels.
My God. For all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, a great story, but I love the fact that, like, there's documentaries and all this stuff, and it's like, here's the thing, like, nobody gave a shit about it. It's not as big a deal as you think, because it was like all tape record, delayed recording, and like nothing was law. I just think it's been blown up into something like. I was very young. I was very young.
Yeah, I was older than you. It was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
It was the USSR was considered the top team in the world.
And I get beating them at anything. Like, I remember, like when the U.S. boxing amateurs would beat the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
It was always a big deal.
Yes. And you had those guys in communist countries who wouldn't fight professionally, like Teofilo Stevenson in Cuba.
Oh, yeah.
Was considered one of the great fighters in the world, but you saw him every 4 years. It was the Russians were maybe the top. The Soviet Union team was maybe the top team in the world at that stage, and they were beaten by a bunch of college kids from the U.S.
No.
It was a pretty big deal.
It's a great story.
But yes, it was not shown live.
It wasn't shown live.
It was tape delayed, all that. And it wasn't even the gold medal match. People tend to forget that.
Well, that's the other part, too, because you had to go beat Sweden, which wasn't a given.
Was it Sweden or Finland?
It was Sweden.
Forget. Was it Sweden?
I think it was Sweden. And like they were down at the end of the first period.
Yeah. And have you heard the famous Herb Brooks motivational speech he gave between periods?
No.
Apparently the speech he gave when they were trailing in the gold medal game was, if you guys go out and don't score and you lose this, you will take this to your fucking graves. And then paused and said, "Your fucking graves." And they went out and won. And won the gold medal.
That's a great speech. But I also hate those speeches because that's what most of like dad's speech, like my dad, his generation. Every halftime is like a good coach. That's what a good coach did. They went and give those inspirational halftime speeches that just changed everything. I'm like, I don't think they're as effective as you think they are, Dad.
I don't know how inspirational, if you lose this, you're going to take it to your fucking grave is.
Yeah. It's
but it's a good line.
It's a great line. At some point, you're like, Herb Brooks, I'm sure, is a great dad and great human being and humanitarian. So, it's a fucking hockey game.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
To your fucking grave.
Yeah. Nice win.
Did anybody from that team really go on to have a nice NHL career?
No. There were a few who had NHL careers. It's not like they went from that to NHL stardom. There were some guys who, I think there was a defenseman who was on the Islanders when the Islanders had sort of an early dynasty. I think it's been a long time. There were guys who contributed to good teams in the NHL, but it's not like Jim Craig, the goalie, the big star goalie, didn't have much of a career after that. Mike Ruzioni, the captain, was a good college hockey player. He was not an NHL player. So yeah, it was fairly limited in that regard.
You have any favorites in the luge these days?
I don't.
Man,
I enjoy
America
watching it.
really sucks at luge.
I mean, Yeah. We don't really have that many opportunities to go luging.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't been luging in years. You?
I quit many years ago. I had to wean myself off the luge.
Yeah. That's one of those sports where I wonder, like, if people actually did it, how good would our luge team be? Because, like, what percentage of people who have ever been on a luge run in the U.S. are on the Olympic team? It's probably a pretty decent percentage, isn't it? It's not like these people go. I'm a West Coast guy.
It's a 70-30 ratio. Yes. You've been on a luge run.
Yeah, I'm a West Coast guy. I've lived in Phoenix for decades.
Yeah.
I don't do weekend luging. Are there people who do weekend luging or skeleton?
Skeleton seems more fun, more dangerous.
Yeah, it's got a cooler name.
Yeah.
Skeleton's a lot cooler than
you said something about the difference between.
Oh, I think I was quoting Spencer Hall, a sports writer, a wonderful internet presence, who was saying that the skeleton's cool because it's like badass and it has a great name, and your ass looks great, like jiggling down the course. Whereas on the luge is sort of dumb, and you're lying on your back, and your entire body looks like a double chin, and you just wobble down. Yeah, skeleton's pretty cool. I love the bobsled, but
Bobsled's always fun.
I used to work on the Matterhorn at Disneyland, so I have a soft spot for the bobsled.
And the Jamaicans still have a team too, right?
Yeah. At least they got sort of semi-respectable at it. The thing that always bothered me, like years ago in the Olympics, is you'd have these like people who were really bad at stuff, and they'd become like the big celebrated heroes of the games, and it would always sort of nag at me, like, shouldn't we like be praising the people who are good at this more than the people who showed up and sucked?
Well, I mean, come on.
I mean, like, yes, the Jamaican bobsled team. That's a great story.
What about the breakdancer from
the Aussie breakdancer? That was pretty. It was funny,
pretty dope.
I go back to Eddie the Eagle. Do you remember Eddie the Eagle? I think he was a ski jumper.
Eddie the Eagle? Wasn't he the mascot for the NRA?
He might have been. This was a ski jumper from England, I think.
Okay.
And they don't do a lot of ski jumping in England. So the fact that he was English and owned skis, I think,
qualified him.
Yeah. Whatever he was, I think it was ski jumping. I could be wrong, but he was terrible. He didn't know what he was doing. It was awful. It was like any weekend skier going out there and doing it. And he became the big celebrity of the Olympics he competed in. It was like that guy on American Idol who couldn't sing. I can't think of his name.
No.
You know what I mean.
Probably. Or that one girl with the shut the fuck up videos that she started on American. Yeah, okay.
People who are getting all the attention for being bad at what they do. I don't know. The Olympics should kind of be about being good at what you do.
I mean, yeah, because one of the things you realize is you always get reminded every couple of years when there's an Olympics, like, man, you spend your entire life for this moment.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure, man.
Yeah. By the way, did you see the biathlete who got bronze, I think, and then decided that was the time to confess that he cheated on his girlfriend and wanted her back?
Yes. I had a gold medal in my life and I let it go. I'm like, oh, dude. And I hear she's not taking it back.
No, which good for her.
Yeah. That's like why would you do it that way? It's like proposing on a Jumbotron.
That is the exact reference I made to my wife. The guy who does this is the same jackass who proposes on the Jumbotron. You have some very personal moment and you think, this is a good message for the guys out there. If you think it will become bigger and more important and make you look better and more sincere if you try to do it in front of the biggest audience possible, that's not really how it works.
Yeah, are you trying to win her over or the crowd?
Yeah, you're trying to look like the good guy in front of a big crowd, and you just look like an asshole. That's all you're accomplishing. And this is the same guy who got in trouble a few years ago because his gun went off in the team hotel at Worlds, which is frowned upon. Like, if you're in a shooting sport, you're probably expected to take a little better care of the weapon than accidentally firing it off in your hotel room.
Oof.
Which I think got him in a bit of hot water with the hotel.
This guy clearly makes great decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, but before we get out real quick, if if there was no such thing as bad luck, Arizona sports teams would have no luck. Corbin Carroll goes down with an injury this week.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know, man. Cardinals are a mess. You see they're keeping their defensive coordinator.
No, I'm not surprised.
You know, and the Suns seem to be limping into the All-Star break.
Yeah, they could probably use the break. And, you know, we've probably acknowledged this before. They're wildly better than we anticipated. So it's hard to be overly critical. They could probably use Jalen Green's presence going forward. It'll be tough to get him in as part of the unit because what he does isn't necessarily what they've been doing. But they've been leaning really hard on Dylan Brooks offensively, and that's not always a great place to be. He was terrific in the early part of the season. It's tailing off a little bit. You know, they're a wonderful story. They're doing great. They're doing far better than I anticipated, than you anticipated. I'll be curious to see how they go moving forward.
They need Green to step up, and they need Booker to be the Booker everybody thinks he is.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't been.
No. One thing they have going for them moving forward is so many of the teams below them are tanking that, like, they're pretty solidly going to be in the playoffs just because all of these teams are not trying to win.
Yeah, but
plus the Pelicans.
I think I think they got to make sure they stay out of the play-in. I think I'd love to see this team get into the playoffs.
It would be nice
and go through a full series. I don't think they could win a series. I heard someone on the radio this morning was saying that they think that their ceiling is the conference championships. And I was like, no, not in a 7-game
I mean,
series.
they've exceeded my expectations through everything this year, but the Thunder, for all that, you know, they've had injuries and a few issues here and there. That's still a phenomenal team who just mopped the floor with the Suns the other night.
I mean, let's say that the Suns were 6th seed. You play the 3rd seed. You're playing Denver.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're lucky to get 2 games off Denver.
Yes. Denver's really, really good.
Denver always gets lost in the shuffle because as long as Jokic is around and playing the way he's playing, you can ride him all the way to the finals.
Yeah. There's some very, very, very good teams in the West. I would be shocked if the Suns made it to the conference finals. If they can get, I mean, the reasonable, optimistic view at this point should be win a series. If you can win a series, that's great, and you've vastly exceeded anyone's reasonable expectations.
That would be great. I mean, but you know, it depends on who you play in the first round. If you're with the Nuggets in the first round or something like that, if you can win a game or two,
I mean, getting through the play-in and being an actual playoff team
would be great.
Is a great success story for them. Yeah.
I think we yapped it long enough.
All right.
So
it's been fun.
Great seeing you this week. Great working with you this week.
Yeah,
it's
been a good one. A lot going on.
Yeah, a lot going on, man.
Wrap up here and go see what broke in the last hour while we've been doing this.
Oh, God, it's always a nightmare on Fridays, isn't it?
It is.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll see y'all next week.
See you next week.
Thanks for listening. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the Google Store, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. See you next time.